40 years experience in the private and public sectors as CEO. I was CEO of Pacific Aerospace Corporation here in Hamilton, the aviation industry. I'm also CEO of a large state-owned enterprise in Melbourne with over 300 staff. I've also developed over $100 million worth of private and public projects. So I am very project-oriented. I'm currently a business mentor with the Hamilton Chamber of Commerce and recently stepped down from the Board of Trustees of Patricia Avenue Schools as one of your largest special needs schools. I'm CEO of my own charity, Child Flight Charitable Trust, and we care for special and disadvantaged kids. I have a passion to bring this sort of caring for our disadvantaged to the council. I want to be an emissary for those community organisations that work tirelessly to reduce family violence and child abuse in our community. I would like to see the centre of the city more vibrant. Pedestrians only. Perhaps more grass and garden place with a couple of boutique bars serving patrons, relaxing, watching live outdoor music and theatre. I want to see incentives for ratepayers to save water without the need for capital-intensive water meters. I'm not in favour of a CCO, which only adds another layer of management. Hamilton should continue to invest in its own water infrastructure. There needs to be further investigation into fluoride. Whoever agreed on council to a constant 3.8% increase in rates should have their heads read. Rates should be pegged to the inflation rate in most years, and only in exceptional circumstances should they be exceeded. I want to see council joint venturing with private enterprise. Hamilton needs a 4-star hotel before it needs a founders theatre. Don't be too quickly drawn in on enticements for a new founders theatre. We need a new founders theatre, but give it time. We've got Clarence Street with 550 seating, and we've got the Black Box, the best one in New Zealand. Let's make better use of Claudelands. Be proud of what we already have and make it work. Upgrading the old Founders Theatre so it can be put to good use by the community. If it's not for arts, let it be for something else. And finally, priority affordable housing for young families. Give developers the necessary tools and incentives to build quality, affordable homes. And make sure that all new developments have roof water collection systems. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan.
No, I wasn't finished.
90 seconds later. Could I please now welcome Councillor Pascoe.
Thank you. That's organising the event tonight. I'm Rob Pascoe and I'm standing for Mayor. I'm a third-generation Hamiltonian. I grew up in Fairfield attending the local primary schools, then Hamilton Boys High, and then off to Auckland University where I gained a commerce degree. I returned to Hamilton in 1973, initially working for the Inland Revenue Department, and then embarked on a career in chartered accounting and retired as a New Zealand partner in the global firm of PricewaterhouseCoopers. I successfully stood for council in the East Ward in 2013, and I was then appointed chair of the Finance Committee. This term has seen council returning to an operating surplus after 9 years of deficits and slashing $50 million off the city debt, despite new borrowings to fund growth. I'm campaigning for mayor and will bring to the city a safe pair of hands. The facts are, Hamilton is growing fast. Our finances are now better managed and the city is on a roll. It's clear people want to live here and work here. And we're expanding by a street a week. That's around 70 people. And we're also a young city with a median age of 32. We're the third youngest city in New Zealand. I seek to deliver as mayor a financial strategy that the city needs now. And I'll be asking the new council what changes need to be made to the existing strategy, whether the 3.8% rate increase is going to continue, and whether we should continue to cap the debt at 200% of revenue. I also want to champion city growth. How can we manage this best and get the most effective outcomes for residents, businesses and developers? I want to bring economic development back into the Mayor's office. I have the contacts and the networks and can ask the right questions which will bring wins in for the city. I want to also push ahead with the Peacocks residential cell. The government have recently offered up to $1 billion in an infrastructure fund which will help us. We're one of the 7 cities in New Zealand who have been offered access to this. It's an interest-free loan, repayable over 10 years. And I'll be advocating for a strong pitch that we get our fair share of that to help open up Peacocks. We also need to champion Hamilton as a city for families. And that means we've got to keep working on and developing the gardens. We need to get on with the river plan. And we do need, we do need a new Founders Theatre. And I'll be working with the Momentum Trust proposal, and we'll also want to consider potential community use for the old Founders Theatre if it's viable to do so. I want to also see the completion of the 15 destination playgrounds that we have in the 10-year plan, as well as advancing cycleways. And we're well underway with that, drawing on central government subsidies. So in conclusion, I will bring to the city leadership 44 years of business, financial and community experience. My safe pair of hands will assist the city take advantage of the opportunities it has now, but with care to avoid the financial and other risks that the city has suffered in its recent past. Vote for Rob Pascoe, a safe pair of hands. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pascoe. It's under time. Here we go. I've got to mention at the start, I will apologise if I do pronounce anyone's names incorrectly. Just briefly if you like. Now I'd like to welcome Boris to the
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's really nice to see such a good turnout. I heard from some of the candidates that last time there was a meeting here, there were more candidates. So I congratulate you all to take interest in your own city and to choose the right candidates for the forthcoming elections. A little bit about myself. I was born in Fiji, I'm in Fiji. I came to New Zealand in 1969, studied at Pukete University, and since 1974 I've been living in Hamilton. I have been a high school teacher, teaching in Hamilton schools, also at Narawahia and Huntley College. I also taught at, in those days was known as Waikato Polytechnic, and University of Waikato. My subjects were mathematics and physics. I've also been in business for more than 30 years. You name it, I've done it. I've been a farmer. I have also, since 2002, after a shoulder injury, I decided to take a different direction in terms of profession. And I went back to university to study law. I completed a Master of Laws degree, and at the moment I practice in alternative disputes resolution, also mediation. I'm well trained, I'm a very good listener. I like to take issues and I take my time in analysing. I think your successful people who will get into council, they need to represent the people. Looking at Hamilton's population distribution, 30% of Hamilton's population are not mainstream people. By that I mean that comprises minorities and development. And if we look at the representation on council at the moment, we'll find that there is only one person, one councillor that is not a mainstream New Zealander. So I've put my hand up. My candidate is supported by Waikato Multicultural Council. I'm the current secretary. In New Zealand, the New Zealand Federation Multicultural Council comprises 19 councils throughout the country. I am the national secretary. And I need your vote to get in there to make the council work for us. Council, I do have a rather nasty cold at the moment, so if I do start hacking up things, so yeah, bear with me. Right, so kia ora koutou. I'm Haki Toro and I'm the son of teachers who have dedicated most of their life to working with very low decile students in Hamilton West and families as well. My father started a school for kids who had been excluded and stood down and got them back into either schooling, Wintec, Polytech or a trade. My mum qualified for university at 15 and decided to become a primary school teacher. So service, community service is something that I've seen up close for a long time. My parents are now coming up to the age of 65. My friends' parents are, some of them are over 65 as well. I actually want them to be able to enjoy their retirement. They're able to then look after their grandkids, have to have a little bit of care. My mum's attached to a lot of her friends and colleagues involves vote for my son for council so that his wife can take some time off and have babies because my grandkids have moved from Hamilton. So that's my mum's patch. So it's always good in hand to have family, working that angle. Now I advocate for continuous learning and education. The council I'm part of will actively work in the community, and the salary of the council will allow me to work full-time for the city and volunteer my skills, knowledge and passion to community initiative. I will be to meetings and I'll know what the community is feeling because I will spend their time listening, making sure that healthy and connected communities exist and they're there and they're heard at the council table. I have a decade in hospitality and range of roles, including chef and cafe restaurant management. I've seen firsthand what can happen when expertise, efficient service, fiscally prudent decision making and a healthy dose of elbow grease do come together. And all in all, it's a pretty simple equation. The right people making the right decisions at the right time, and greatness happens and comes from that. And a growing whānau does keep me focused on taking positions that utilise my knowledge, my skills, and my expertise, and my character of what's come to me in my life experiences. I am currently employed as a probation officer by the Department of Corrections. I work on a day-to-day basis with some of the most vulnerable people in society who are offenders, yes, and also the victims of those offenders. I work with their families, I work with a lot of organisations trying to get people content and do safe situations.
Thanks very much. I'm Dave McPherson. I'm also standing for the DHB as well as the City Council. I've been on council for quite a few years, too long as one or two of my colleagues here would say, including in some articles. Thanks, Jeff. But perhaps the thing that I'm happiest about is the work that I've been doing in the community on top of my council work over the last 3 years. I've been on the board of the Western Community Centre, and thanks to the Waikato Times for their publicity about their newspaper recently as well. I've been on there for 18 years, most of the time as a deputy chair, and the other thing that I'm really pleased about is the large social sports competitions that I run next door to here and have done for about 8 years. Those things are what gets me out of bed every morning. The other thing, though, is the chance as a city councillor to advocate for people. I'm known as somewhat of a bulldog, and I take that as a compliment because when I get teeth to an issue, I'm not prepared to let it go until we've had a satisfactory hearing for the people that have got issues. And that's one of the things that's really important. As a councillor, you need to be able to advocate for people and for organisations. It's no good just sitting back there and listening to what happens in meetings and not saying anything for the first 3 years. Your vote and your voice counts from the moment you start on council. Yes. Some of the issues that I've got at the moment, clearly the water meters situation is an issue. And it's not just because of the possibility of water meters, it's It's because of the idea of setting up a water company and devolving all of our water and wastewater operations to that company, essentially a private company still owned by council. When we had electricity like that 20 years ago, it was actually sold once the government changed the legislation. The same thing could happen again. You will get water meters if you get a water company. That will cost you more. Look at the bill on the back of this here, and you will see, which I'll give out later, you'll see what it costs Auckland. It's over $1,000 a year. Some of the other issues I'm concerned about, though, a bit more respect for the people in the community, checking before changes are made with you about your views. Pensioner housing, we should never have been the first council in the whole country to sell our pensioner housing, but we have been. That is something I'd like to see us restore and involvement in. Also respect for volunteers and community groups like this one here, who have had reduced support and reduced respect from council over the last 6 years. I would like to see that reversed. There's every chance we can under the new leadership that we're going to get with this council, and I hope to be part of that. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor McPherson. Councillor Toomey, please.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks for the opportunity to come along tonight. Thanks very much for your vote 3 years ago, and I think I have, or I hope that I have given you some trust and confidence in your vote 3 years ago. A little bit about me: I was born in Hastings and educated in, as a kid, grew up in Plymouth and in Christchurch. And on leaving school, I thought, well, what the hell am I going to do now? Because I wasn't really a great one at being a student. And I decided I was going to become a traffic cop. So eventually, of course, I reached the age of 21 after having done national service in the New Zealand Army, and they sent me off to Wanganui on a motorcycle. Moved to Tea around 1970, down the road to Pukete. In 1975, I was moved down to Ashburton as a sergeant. I stayed in Ashburton for 5 years and then moved to Tokoroa, and in 1983 is when I came to Hamilton. At that stage, my eldest child was just starting high school, and I wanted to stay in Hamilton so that my 4 kids could actually go through secondary school here in Hamilton, which they all did. And of course, the longer you stay in Hamilton, the more it grows on you. There's no two ways about that. And I decided that Hamilton is going to be my permanent home. I've spent 4 years in Rotary. I've had 2 years as president of Hamilton Rotary. I was in Lions as well at the same time for about approximately 10 years when I was in Charity and in Ashburton. What is Hamilton? Hamilton I see as it's a young city with young families and young people. As Rob mentioned, I think the average age here in Hamilton is about 32 years of age. One of the problems, of course, which Hamilton is facing at the present time is a massive growth. Believe it or not, we have to complete 3 houses per day, 7 days per week, just to keep up with the growth which the city is facing. There are a number of plans, of course, which Hamilton has. For example, transformation of the central city. That is a major issue for us. The more younger people we can get actually living in the city, the better it's going to be. Such things as the river plan, Hamilton Gardens, just to name a few of the plans which we've got underway. So I think what we really need to do is stay on this track, give us another 3 years, and I'm pretty sure that this council, which has laid the groundwork, will actually start delivering the results. Thank you.
Councillor Tuma, we'll just take a quick break. We've got some more chairs here for those later items. If you want to come through and grab a seat over here. while we wait for that, can I, Councillor Gallagher, please? Reading yourself.
Thank you, and I don't want to correct you, Mr. Chair, but tonight I'm purely one of the candidates, and I should, doing very well. But I also want to acknowledge, however, former Councillor Marika Westphal and her hard work for our city, and I just want to stress what a council is, and that, of course, is a representation of the cross-section, the diversity of the city. And at the very minimum, we have, out of 13 elected members, 5 brand new people to sit around that council table at the minimum. So I guess what I'm saying as candidate Martin Gallagher tonight is a lifelong experience living in this city and a range of skills and backgrounds, and I hope an ability to work across any sort of political divide and to try and get the best for our great city. And I also want to pay a big, huge compliment to the people who are putting their necks on the block to stand for the mayoralty of this city, because that is going to be a hugely, as we all know, important choice in terms of the direction of the city. I do want a council, as Margaret Evans once said, that is made of feisty individuals, not a bunch of anemic yes people who have got their own views, a bit of blood in their veins, but in the end you do know and understand the art of compromise. So I've had a background in education, small business, central local government, and also in the voluntary and not-for-profit sector as well. And obviously you've got to have vision and dreams for this wonderful city. I've got a young daughter currently in the Shetland Islands at the moment, cross fingers she's got there, who thinks this place is a dump and won't come back here to live. Just one of the 4, the other 3 want to live here. I want to make this place for her that vibrant place. So in that sense, let me acknowledge the good news. The development in partnership with the community of the Hamilton Gardens, that was just a dump once. The Founders Theatre, the new version of the Founders Theatre, which again was a wonderful community partnership started under Dennis Rogers, and also the River Plan. That's a positive. And very quick, because the bell's gone, things that I want to and never agreed with was our sale of pension housing, short-sighted decision. I think the water meter issue is something we do need a comprehensive discussion on, but most importantly I want to be part of a vibrant, sensible team that's going to take our city to its next level, and also for our young people is to realise that Kiwi dream. The big worry I have is I got into our first home as a young person. That dream is starting to elude many young Kiwis. Let us work with central government and business and all of that to try and get those young kids into their first home.
Thank you, candidate Gallagher. Thank you. As for Councillor King, please.
Hi everyone, I'm Andrew King. I was educated at Hamilton Boys High School and Twin Tech, and I've been in business in Hamilton with my wife Anne for over 30 years. My message is simple. First, it's truth. The platform that I'll lead council on as a team is a platform of truth. On the platform of truth, our city will prosper. An attempt was made earlier this year by your council, this council, to sell one of our city's assets for $3 million lower than the top tender. This was stopped by some of my colleagues here tonight and by myself. Was this behaviour an attempt at legal theft? Was it favouritism to the board of the lower tender, who some of the people who were pushing for it said that they knew them personally, those people on the board? Was it underhandedness or was it ignorance? Either way, it's wrong. The attempt to misuse ratepayers' money in that way to undersell an asset by $3 million when the staff recommendation was to accept the higher offer is, for me, just wrong. Please ask council to introduce a one-way door policy on bars so that people who leave the bar or were evicted from a bar after 2 o'clock couldn't straighten themselves up and attempt to get into another bar. The present council voted this down. I will continue to promote this, to support the police in their request to maintain law and order at a very difficult time in the evening, and also to minimise alcohol-related harm. Secondly, my second point is growth. Hamilton Council needs to invest in infrastructure to make more sections available and to expand our city and to expand our rate space. In a difficult situation 5 years ago, we cut back on spending on infrastructure. Now we're paying. To complement Peacock subdivision, we need to lobby central government through NZTA to build southern links. And finally, less rules. The new district plan is the most restrictive district plan in the history of our city. There's too much discretionary power for either the developer or the neighbours to have any certainty. This blows our costs and wastes precious time when we should be making housing more affordable and assisting business to grow our city. The district plan needs to be looked at to bring back common sense. I say no to water meters. User pays sounds good, but the cost to be fair and measured water use outweighs the financial benefit to the community overall. So 1, 2, 3. It's very simple. Truth, growth, and less red tape. It sounds simple, and it should be. Simple, achievable, and robust. A better city for all of us. I don't have all the answers, and sometimes I will get things wrong. But as a team, we'll build our city on the foundations I've talked about, and our city will prosper. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor King. Candidate Peter Humphreys, please.
Kia ora, ko Welsh toka iwi, ko Humphreys toka hapu, ko Bina toka ingoa, mō reira tangara koutou katoa. I'm Peter Humphreys, I'm standing on the Community Voice ticket. You probably know me from, I run the night shelters here in Hamilton. I've always had social work in my life. As a foster kid, I grew up with a social worker. In my 20s, I married a social worker, still with her. And in my 40s, I became a social worker. And my young daughter is just about to start her training as a social worker. Yeah, I've been running the night shelters for the last 8 years. One of my motivations when I took over was moving the shelter from a single room old Chinese restaurant into a multi-modern building in Anglesey Street. I've achieved that. I say I, it's been the community, it's been the Rotarians, the Probus clubs, the Lions, the Gallaghers, all the other trusts, the D.B. Bryant Trust, it's been the people of Hamilton that have achieved that. I've just been steering the walker at times. So that's been really appreciated, that involvement from the community. And I see that ethos going to council as I'm representing to council. We need leadership on council, but we also need the community involvement. We need to be talking to the community and using the resources that we have in the community. I mentioned in my whakapapa Wales, that's where I came from originally. Originally, and I know as soon as that went through your mind, it's one of the best rugby team in the world. Okay, the second best. I wanted to use an analogy to rugby. What I want to see at council is that people start playing the ball and not the man. Get on with the job. We've got a big job here in Hamilton to actually make this city a better place to live in. We've got the fans theatres, we've got the pensioners' house, all those issues. People around the table that are actually going to get stuck and roll their sleeves and play with the ball. Yeah, we do need a wise city. We do need a good pair of hands. Wise persons we at council table. We do need a good pair of hands, but we also need to play the ball. So I'll get on with it. The other thing around that, coming from Wales, when people in Wales say, "Why do you live in New Zealand?" I say because it's a great place to bring up children. Well, I used to say that, it's not anymore. There's a lot of our children living in damp houses, there's a lot of our children living in cars, so it's not a great place to bring up children anymore. So I want to do something about that. We can do something by looking after our youth here, we can do something about looking after our elderly. It's about people, council. Martin mentioned about being representative on council. If anybody representative on council, they need that passion, they need that want to be on there, and it should be anybody. It doesn't have to be accountants and lawyers. They can be social workers, and we know from the cold face what actually happens. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Humphreys. Max Hoyle.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to stay over this side to give everyone else a bit of a better chance to get to see me. And you got that, Lance? All right. First of all, I'd like to say a huge thank you to Pukete Neighbourhood House for having us all here today. They do a really fantastic job. Big shout out to all the staff, especially Jane. She was also last year's Miss Universe. You might not have known. She's a very gorgeous lady, and she does a very good job here.
Got my vote.
I know, I'm getting those coins in the bank. I also work at a community centre, and I've seen the great work they do. I work at one over in Norton. It's interesting, promoting a business in the CBD in town and having a lot to do with that, and bringing a lot of people into the CBD and seeing what really makes the CBD work, and living in it in apartments over quite a few years has given me a very good insight. I'll probably take this opportunity to say I may be the only person going on to council, should I be elected, who still rents a home that hasn't actually bought one. I am 32. I'm an average age Hamiltonian at least. We don't know what we're trying to save. It's difficult. Getting a job on council would probably help. But that's probably really enough about me. What I'm actually about is listening. And one thing that leaving working for the newspaper, writing a lot of stories and that sort of thing, and selling adverts and meeting all the business people in Hamilton taught me was going into the community and listening to what people had to say from all walks of life, the sort of people that come in here, the sort of people that come into the Western Community Centre every day, is they've got issues and they're not being addressed by council. I guess similar to Dave, I'd like to advocate for it. Roaming dogs, nuisance dogs, vicious dogs, huge problem. Many people are concerned about them, and I've noticed it myself. And animal control aren't giving the response that they should. Water meters, I'm against them. Put that out there, as are most people that I've talked to. So I've taken the communities on that, and I've done my own research, and that's really important. Another one is excessive noise. A lot of people are saying that they're not getting from council what they used to when it comes to noise complaints. I'd like to crack down on that. Yes, I'm a young person. No, I don't blast my stereo late at night. I do have a young boy and he needs to sleep, and I know how important that is. I'm also really interested in our water beyond water meters. Let's look at Havelock North and Paihia Toa. We've got the Waikato River running right through there, and although we don't look after it as well as we should, and it comes under the regional council's heading, I think Hamilton City Council really needs to take a lead in making sure that we don't have to build another $40 billion treatment plant to help treat the water for Auckland and for us, because that's going to end up coming out of our rates. So let's look long term, let's look at cleaning up the river to help bring down those water costs for all of us, and let's look at building capacity within the community. Thanks again to Pukete Neighbourhood House, and to everyone for coming. It's great to have you.
Thank you, Max. Suki Henry.
Yeah, I'll come over here because I look at that lovely bottom and I don't have a nice name. So, yeah, I'm Suki Henry, and look, I'm actually not going to talk about myself because you can read about me. I've got the flyer with me. You can find me on Facebook. You can Google me, whatever you want to do. You can find everything about me. That's all good. But what I just wanted to ask is, because I actually really want to get your questions. You know, we can talk for hours here, but it's actually what you want to know from us, really, and I want to know your questions. And I've been knocking on around 4,000 doors so far, so I've heard some really interesting stories. So I want to hear your story, not you hear my story. But what I wanted to ask you is, what kind of person are you actually looking for that you want on council? And I've just got three things that you might want to think about. But is it someone who actually attends all the meetings? And even if they attended, are they there? Or are they on their laptops or iPads or whatever? And when you stream that, you'll find out who is not. Or is it someone, are you looking for someone who actually asks questions, but knocks on doors, asking questions, not behind a computer or something? Or are you looking for somebody that puts aside politics? Because there's lots of games played in council meetings, political games. And are you looking for somebody that puts aside politics for the benefit of people? Maybe looking for a female. Look around. Thank you.
Record time there, Siggy. Jeff Taylor, please.
Hello everyone, Jeff Taylor's my name. Background, I'm a journalist, former deputy editor of the One Day Times, these days editor at Local Business News. I'm standing for council because I'm excited about Hamilton's future and I want to get involved. But I'm also standing for council because I'm concerned that the West Ward is a pretty raw deal for this council in recent years, particularly when it comes to housing growth. The vast majority of housing that we've seen in this city in the last decade or so has happened in one small part of town, one big part of town, the North East. The council's love affair with Rototuna has done the rest of the city not too many favours. If you look at the city, it's no longer a rounded city with supports the CBD, and the CBD is hurting. You look at the biggest employer in town, Pukete Hospital, not too far from the edge of town these days, and that's ridiculous when you consider that you've got thousands of hospital staff looking for homes. I talk to people in Glenview, in Melville, in Norton, in parts of Dinsdale, and they say to me, our suburb feels a little bit neglected. They look up at Rototuna, going at 100 miles an hour with all the bells and whistles. I don't think that's fair. And I think new housing and the services that come with it can really rejuvenate older areas of town. But I don't think that's been happening in the West. It certainly hasn't been happening in the South either. So what do I want to do with it? My priority is growth in the West Ward. I'd like to see the Rotokari growth cell fast-tracked. In the 10-year plan, I'd like to see Rototuna shuffled way back and Rotokari brought forward. I'd like to see Peacocks accelerated as well. I'd like to see the council tap into the $1 billion infrastructure fund that was mentioned earlier. And I'd like to see the infrastructure brought in so Peacock Stage 1 can push on, but also Stage 2. Peacock Stage 1 was about 800 houses. Peacock Stage 2, that's the game changer. That's about 7,000 or 8,000 houses. Hamilton needs that. So I would ask you, if you're looking for a representative, if you're looking for growth in the ward, to vote for someone who is going to get on and do that. I think the West has been the poor relation in this city for too long. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Jack Geelan, please.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Jack Geelan and I'm standing for mayoralty as well as for Hamilton East Council. Friends, voters, Hamiltonians we are. The world calls me Jacobus, we've come so far. For freedom, justice, equality I stand. We need public audits, scrutiny with plans. I represent a voice for all, together we can. Transform the CBD, putting homes upon the land. No to water meters. Advocating families, metro theatre, communal libraries. You don't need to be formal, just treat me normal. Accessibility for those with disabilities. A vision for the future, shining diamonds you'll see, putting heart into the city. They call it destiny. Yes, I was brought up in Pukete. I went to Te Amudu College. I worked as a water and wastewater plant operator. I've actually also worked in the freezing works for 12 years, where I was a union delegate. And I've also run the New Zealand Suicide Prevention Trust for the last 15 years, involved in governance and administration. And I've also been a pastor, counsellor, community worker, because I'm interested in transforming people and putting lifelines into the community, and trauma recovery, buddy support, holistic healing, because we all need to work together in our community to heal one another, and I believe that here needs to represent all people and multicultural perspective, married as well as non-married, which is very important. I'm also a truther. I make no bones about that. I have stood up for issues in terms of sovereignty in this nation in the past, and some of my policies are affordable housing, because I do believe that we need to put a rent freeze on, because some of the rents are far too high, and a lot of the 41,000 people who can't afford homes. I do believe that local politics is tied into national politics, and we ought to lobby the government, and apparently the government's giving us $1 billion towards the infrastructure. Where that will be spent should be put into the community development as well as economic jobs and so forth. Affordable housing, lower rates. I believe some of the rates are far too high, and it needs to be rates for services, water, rubbish and so forth. The infrastructure, I believe we need to change the infrastructure and build up that and focus on that. The roadings are very important. No to water meters. I'm definitely against water meters. Definitely against debt, because I believe in reconciling the books. And the Claudelands debacle, the CBD loss, apparently there's millions of dollars gone into the CBD, but there's fewer people there. And I'm for the ambassador program, because we need to have Hamilton ambassadors, because apparently the CBD people is not as friendly in terms of businesses and so forth. We need to create a friendly environment where we all get along together, and Hamiltonian ambassadors, I believe, is a wonderful idea where we all link in with one another, take care of one another, and all get along and work together as well. Okay? Thank
you, Jack. Could I please ask candidate Chris Simpson?
I'll just present from here as well. Hello everybody, I'm Chris Simpson. I had to say this before and actually state my name because I was out door knocking the other day and I handed my card over and this guy said to me, "No, I vote for you all the time." And I said, "But this is the first time I'm standing." I went, "Oh, hang on, you think I'm David Bennett?" So, so that was interesting. But I thought I'd just recognise a few people in the audience tonight. Marika, definitely, Bob Simcott. Great to see Mark Bunting here, coming over from the east side. So it was good. And also Barry Quayle from standing for Regional Council, and Barry's ex-chief of the field days. So it's quite useful to have those connections here, and I hope you get in, definitely hope you get in. A little bit about myself. I was actually born in Huntly. My mother was a Plunkett nurse, so we had a lot to do with the community. My father was a coal miner, and they worked incredibly hard, and I had a lot of values from them and seeing how they worked. With regards to myself, I went to Hamilton Boys High School. Tony Steele, the principal, bent the rules a little bit and got me in as one of the last two boys allowed in. And that was also Craig Wallace of Craig Wallace Builders here in Hamilton. So I owe Hamilton a lot. And thank you to Martin, who was the geography teacher at Boys High at the time. I know that Sydney's in Papua New Guinea. And so I went to university here at Waikato, and then I actually ended up working in Parliament. I started out the economic researcher, the economist in Parliament, and then working with the likes of Bob Simcock when he got in as Director of Research. I became Chief Executive of the Property Council of New Zealand, which represented the commercial property owners around New Zealand. And then I was working with the Australian Trade Commission and the Australian Embassy in Wellington. So I've worked in Wellington and in Auckland. I've lived in the central city of Wellington, and I've lived in the central city of Auckland. And I came home 3 years ago. And I've been looking at Hamilton from an economic perspective. Obviously, you build to your strengths. And I've been contracted to the City Council, helping them on being an economic analyst and also for their economic growth. And I left Council about 5 months ago to just do this job full-time as standing to become the Mayor of Hamilton. And the reason why I quit my job to do this properly for 5 months is that Hamilton is now going to the next level, and it needs leadership within the organisation and with the community to take Hamilton to the next level. We're going to grow about 40,000 people over the next 10 years, and as Rob Pascoe quite rightly pointed out, we're growing at about 70 people a week, which is 36,000 over the next 10 years. And it's making sure that we manage that growth quite well. Here in the West, there's 70,000 people. That's going to grow to 20,000 people. We need to be able to manage that. And that's where I'm coming from. So I've got 4 key things that I stand for. The first thing is a council that's committed to delivering. A council that will listen, a council that will be transparent, and a council that actually will do things. The second thing is understanding the economy, and that's something that we need to build to our strengths. And coming back to the point about health is a big sector in our community, especially in the West, 20,000 of people are in the health sector. The third thing I stand for is infrastructure. A strong infrastructure is important for our city. I'm bringing back an infrastructure committee if I get elected. In fact, Dave McPherson said in the last newsletter here for the community house that there's been a lack of having an infrastructure transport committee. And finally, what I stand for is actually a city that's inclusive of all of us. And that's the part of my background and where I've come from and where I've been brought up that I'm going to bring here. So that's what I stand for. I'm not giving this a bit of a nudge to stand next time for the mayor. I'm all in. I'm the only candidate who is standing for the mayoralty and who's not standing for a ward as well. So I'd love your vote because I'm all in. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chris. James Casson.
Thank you very much, Community House Pukete, for inviting all the candidates tonight, the mayoral candidates, unlike the Property Council of New Zealand Waikato branch who didn't today. I'm James Casson. I served 25 years in New Zealand Police, which included many roles, including the Fairfield Community Constable for a number of years, the Sergeant in charge of the North Hamilton Community Precinct Centre. So I looked after this area for quite a number of years, Pukete, Karapa, and all of the east side of the river. Had deployments overseas to Papua New Guinea, the Solomon Islands, Tonga, East Timor with the United Nations, and I was Diplomatic Protection Officer looking after a range of VIPs, New Zealand Prime Ministers, Governor Generals, President Hu Jintao of China, Nelson Mandela, Sultan of Brunei, Rachel Hunter, Rod Stewart. After resigning from the New Zealand Police, I was briefly a probation officer, a little bit like Hickey. Then I relocated to Queensland, became a Queensland police officer, so don't hold that against me. But I moved back to New Zealand last year because my wife got a double whammy of cancer. She got breast cancer and sinus cancer, so she's on the mend now. But I'm working for Immigration New Zealand now, doing compliance investigation. I've got a unique insight into political life and have obviously set me apart from other candidates running for council. I believe by the experiences that Sydney and Good Zealand once again served the public of Hamilton. I still play club rugby like a silly old bugger I am, and I know the importance of keeping oneself fit. I served 2 terms as an elected parent on the board trustee at St John's College with my 2 boys went to school. I was on the property and pastoral care committees there. So I'm dead against water metering like most people here. I live with water meters in Brisbane, and my single bedroom apartment had a $80 extra bill per month, and for some people that's just over that big point. So there's no need for that. Serious consideration must be given to community centres. I'm sitting for mayoralty and for the east side, and they have a few more facilities around here. Took my dog for tonight. I didn't have anywhere to put my dog poo in the bag. Had to carry it with me, so I couldn't find bins around the place. City vagrants. Something gets done. The bylaws will not get rid of these people. Case in point, the washers made bylaws for window washers, and it hasn't worked. It's only correlated. They get $300 a day tax-free these people. So why are they going to stop doing that? So you can't make bylaws against vagrants. I'm looking for a wraparound service for vagrancy. There's a strong link between mental health and vagrancy. I think a wraparound service, including the Hamilton City Council working with, in collaboration with WINS, having New Zealand Police, Mark Whangai, Waikato Mental Health Services and Community Probation will actually decrease this problem. City Centre, it's all very well putting grass and bits and pieces around town. You know, you can put lipstick on a pig too. You know? So, the city centre is dying. I'd like to see it built up. I'd like to see a lot of those places turned into apartments in the central city, which will help the central city. It will make it a safer place if it's populated. And restaurants, bars, and everything else will be a lot better. I'd like to see garden lakes utilised during summer months for concerts, free concerts for the public, so people go in and take their families in there to use the facilities. That can include family movies, plays, and concerts and garden plays during summer months. So, I am James Casson. I know how to serve the community. I've actually sweat blood, sweat and tears for this city in in the past. Leo, you used to be one of my bosses actually, but I'm prepared to do that again for the city, so I'm always a vote. Thanks very much.
Thank you, James. Paul,
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I was going to start off with I'm absolutely positively running for Hamilton Mayor, and then I realised that was a Wellington slogan, and I'm going to adapt it and say I'm definitely and positively running for Mayor of Hamilton. And the reason is, I have a vision for the city. It's a very exciting time to get on board with city development. I have a vision for the city which sees it as a place of opportunity, employment, education, affordable homes and efficient transport. I see it as a place for people, where people can enjoy sports, the arts and culture, green spaces and quality lifestyle. I want this to be a city that we're all proud of. So I do believe that Hamilton needs positive leadership with a clear vision to deliver the good opportunities and lifestyle that we all want. And I'll come back to, at the end, a little bit about myself. Starting with the big curly issue, which is affordable homes. Every day we're reading really terrible news about the way that house prices are trending. Yesterday there was another story about Auckland house prices tipping $1 million. We know that flows on and has an impact here in Hamilton as well. And other speakers have already mentioned it. It's really impossible for first homeowners to find decent homes at an affordable price. And we have to do something about that. But Hamilton can't fix it on its own. This is a really big and complex issue. There are some things we could do, and we should do the things that we can. I did note yesterday that Paula Bennett made an announcement about supporting further social housing initiatives in Auckland. And sorry. And I thought, what about Hamilton? We need a share of government money in Hamilton. We need a fair share, as many of my colleagues have said here, of the $1 billion infrastructure fund for ploughing forward with infrastructure builds. So we can get development to other parts of the cities, to the south, to the east, to the west. We do need to go hard after that money, not be an also-ran for it after Auckland. We also need to lobby the government for further support. Although the Housing Accord, part of the legislation, will be repealed this month, they are reviewing the provisions of Housing Accord. So I think we should be going to government and making it clear the problem that we have here in Hamilton. Enough about housing, however. I also want to talk about transportation. It's vital for Hamilton's future economically, and it's vital for people's well-being and lifestyle that we have efficient transportation. I've been working on the Upper North Island Strategic Alliance, looking at issues around freight and economic opportunity between Auckland, Hamilton and the Bay of Plenty. And believe me, that's important if Hamilton is to prosper economically. So we do need to make sure that those links are provided. We also need public transport that is accessible to all. Pleased to say that there's some really good improvements coming with buses. All of the buses will be wheelchair accessible. All of them will have CTV on them. All of them will allow Wi-Fi. So that's a good standard improvement for buses. I just want to finish by talking about communities, because I think actually they're the heart of the city. Our communities, when I'm door knocking, and I haven't done 4,000 homes because I've still got a day job at the moment, but when I go door knocking, I'm hearing people say, what we want is a little bit of love for our community. And what Frankton wants is different from what Melville wants, which is different from what Hamilton East wants and Rotorua wants. And I'm really keen to develop a community engagement committee and a transport committee, again, so that we can have the community come to us. But I'm also keen to get the councillors going out to where the community is and having key conversations to drive the future of their city. Thank you.
Thank you, Paula. Kyo.
Good evening. I'm going to stand here as well. I'm standing for council because I believe that I do have skills that I can bring to council. I've been previously a councillor for Hamilton from 1986 to 1995. And I feel now, all those years ago, I've certainly gained a lot of experience and knowledge of what happens in our country to our people. Professionally I've worked in Environment Waikato in 1991 for a number of years, and then I went to Parliament as a researcher, as Chris did, and then in a minister's office in the Minister of Local Government and Department of Conservation. And during that period, of course, the review of the Local Government Act took place. So that experience has driven me to take a real interest. I've always had an interest in politics. And in an earlier life, I was Staff Welfare Officer for New Zealand Post and also a Post Office Union rep for the Waikato region. So working with people has always been something that I've done in supporting people, fighting for people's rights in the workforce, and I enjoyed my time in council previously. And I was just thinking to myself, one of the committees that I chair is the Welfare Committee, and that title in itself said a lot, but of course the structure's changed and it's no longer called that. But so that was dealing, and the community house here has, when I came back from living elsewhere, to come back here, and I was here over a year ago, and to see this wonderful building that you have from where it was when you started in a house in Pukete community. So the experience I bring is just one really of working with people, understanding what is needed, and two of the things that I'm really strong about is that I love Founders Theatre. It's part of our history, and I would be sad if it was replaced with a new one. It must remain. And the other one is I fail to understand how a water meter is going to enhance my life. I really want to understand why water meters going to enhance your life. So I guess that's telling you where I'm standing in terms of water meters. Quickly, I just want to thank the Community House for having us here tonight, and for you people to come out, especially when it's so cold and wet. Kia ora.
Wonderful, thank you. Kathy Holland.
I'm Kathy Holland, and I'm standing in this board and also for the Waikato DHB. Firstly, my thanks to the Pukete Neighbourhood House for hosting us this evening tonight, and for you for coming out on such a bitterly cold evening. Next year, this house will celebrate its 30th birthday. I want to acknowledge the wonderful work that this organisation has done for thousands of Pukete children and families over the years. I'm always impressed with the scope and range of services that you continue to provide. And I know there are huge challenges, the least of which is your ongoing relationship with the Hamilton City Council. My family moved to Pukete in the late 1970s. I therefore have a very strong affiliation to this place. Our two eldest children, Pia and Paul, started at Pukete School in 1982 and 1984. When Trevor Kilpin was the principal, and both of our kids were lucky to have as their teachers the likes of Lee Elliott, just as one person. Paul came to school from Pukete Kindergarten, just over the back fence, and when we shifted to Cambridge, he found a tree at school. I suspect he did this on purpose to make the point that he really wanted to come back to Pukete to be with his mates. My greetings to Sue and Paul Ratledge, and I am remembering the very good times that we had at Pukete all of those years ago. I also remember when the original Pukete Community House was opened and Paul installed at the school, and how it became a focal point in this community. I I also have a vivid memory of attending a play group at the old house in the early 1990s, mucking into paint and Play-Doh as a 40-year-old mother with a new baby and thinking, I'm way too old to be doing this. My campaign strapline is simple: families connecting to communities. My primary focus is working alongside communities to create an environment that supports families and children. I've worked in the Hamilton community for many more years than I care to admit. I have an extensive background in the delivery of health and social services. I was Chief Executive of Parent Iron for 7 years. I have served on many boards locally and in Wellington, and also as a government appointee to 2 registration boards. I currently chair a trust that owns a $7 million agribusiness. This background should give you an inkling of what I can bring to the council table. As your West Ward councillor, I will advocate for the importance of connecting families and communities to create a stronger and quicker support. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Can I please welcome Peter Boss?
Hello, I'm Peter Boss. I'll start with seriously injured as a result of a traffic accident. So in the last 5 years, there was a call for slower speeds in the CBD, or to extend slower speeds, but it wasn't extended. And the result from that is, as you can see, all these serious injuries all around the approaches to the safer areas. Now, the Swedish when they introduced slower speeds, they found that they got a 25 to 30% reduction in risk of death or serious injury. And New York has also done the same thing, experiment, and they come across, as a fact, they got a 22% drop in fatalities. So there's definitely a benefit. The fact that there's a benefit in slower speeds. We really need to ask why we haven't done it and what's the benefit of not doing it. So if we take this a step further, now this is graphs. I like graphs. This is New Zealand's. This is road safety. The number of deaths per. No, the change in risk of death. So you can see this black line here is New Zealand, and you can see we're heading back up. We're the worst performing. Our approach is giving the worst result out of the countries we compare with. But if we look at countries, Scandinavian countries that take a Vision Zero approach, you can see year on year, safer and safer and less deaths. So, and again, if we look at Sweden, who did the original idea, you can see that they had growth in traffic volumes, but when they introduced Vision Zero, they got safety year on year on year. So there's a benefit in safer speed. So now this is Pukete. Okay, so in Pukete, we've got, over here we've got a very large water reservoir. Over here we've got the waste treatment station. And we've got, actually I'm going to take there's another graph. Now this is population growth in Pukete. So over the years, in 91, 93, you grew, and now you're in decline. So in the last decade, you've lost at least 200, your population has dropped by at least 200 people. So that's equivalent to 65 households. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. I will apologise if I have the surname wrong. A share.
Just
there we go.
You may be thinking, what the hell I'm doing here? It is a politics, and I have been into politics for a long time. I was a youngest elected district
I came here in 1992, and it is about 25 years. In Hamilton, I came in 2013 because I had an LLB degree enrolled in, which I completed in last year in 2015. So next year actually I'm going to be applying for a lawyer, although my accent is not good, but I want to be a criminal lawyer. However, when I first time went through from Auckland and went to Palmerston North, I stopped over in Hamilton for a short over. It was a very busy place at that time. I found it was a very nice place, you know, very busy in the city. However, when I came here in 2013, I found the central city is dead. Okay, so it means that previous council members, whether they are councillors or the mayors, they might have done a good job, but they have made the central city a dead place. We are taking about any organization. We have a heart of the organization. Here, the heart is CBD. We also have some limbs, like right, left limbs, which we have like some, you know, good places. We have a Wakefield or Westfield here, and then we have Tarapa. All the businesses have gone there. Okay, what my planning is basically that we want to have a safe community. We want to build a healthy community. We want to have a good CBD. We want to have sustainable economy and economic growth. So I can't say all the policies here because there are about 100 policies here. Okay, now I have done my master degree in business management. I have my bachelor degree in journalism. I have my bachelor degree in laws, major in law, and I have graduate diplomas, postgraduate diploma in business and admin. I have studied accounting, finance, management, human resource management, law, and journalism. If you trust on me, and if you give me a chance, I can give you a better city because I have capacity and ability to do things for you. Okay, now if you are not satisfied with all these groups here, previous groups, then give me a chance. If you are satisfied with the previous governments, but I am not because the city is dead. Okay, there is no economic growth. So give me a chance. I can do something for you. Thank you very much.
Okay, that wraps up the first portion of the evening.
Okay, where's Councillor O'Leary?
Councillor O'Leary
Has
declined
given
the
her
invitation.
apologies.
I've never seen her at a candidates meeting yet.
That's between yourself and Councillor O'Leary. So that wraps up the first part of the evening, 3 to 4 minutes. Then we'll look to head into the hot 90 seconds. So the 90 seconds to take those drive home messages, those ones that you want to convince these people why they should give you their vote.